Once upon a time, there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020. I hope everyone's having a lovely, lovely day, or a better day than Joe Biden is having. I'm having a wonderful day. Full disclosure, I haven't eaten anything today. Actually, that's a lie. I had cereal this morning, but I haven't eaten anything since then, so I'm having organic popcorn. There's no funding from this company. There's no free promotion here, but I'm a little hungry, so I might sneak a kernel or two during this broadcast. I hope nobody finds it rude. But the reason I haven't eaten is because Jen and I had two very, very important phone calls this afternoon, and both of them took a good amount of time. But moral of the story, very good phone calls for an important story we're working on. So that's why I haven't eaten. I hope you don't mind. Maddie, you must have some good news because you're wicked early. No, if you missed yesterday, we're going to start going a little bit earlier. Normally we go about 5 o'clock, 5:15 Eastern time. We're going to try starting around 4:15, 4:30 Eastern time because for the last few weeks we've run into... Hold on. I'm live.
Okay.
What's up?
I'll call you afterwards.
Issue? Bye-bye. That was Jen. So, we are going to try to go a little bit earlier because we are really, really having issues where other channels that I love are going live during our live stream, which takes away from our audience. So, so hopefully you can tune in with us a little bit earlier. We're going to start going live around this time every day. So we got 200 people watching. Remember, every single person, press that like button. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this very live stream. It's right under the live stream. It's the thumbs up button. Makes a big, big difference. We got 220 people watching right now. Only 96 of you have pressed that like button. So let's get it up. 150 more of you. Please, please, please press that like button. Really, really helpful. Also, make sure you join our text list. That's text 474747. Enter COUP. That's COUP. Enter COUP. It really, really helps us get around the YouTube notification delays, which you'll be lucky if YouTube notifies you when we're live. This really, really helps. Follow us at Status Coup on Twitter. We just passed 13,000 followers on Twitter, so that's really great, at Status Coup. Follow us on Twitch. We are live there right now, twitch.tv/Status Coup. And join our email list by going to statuscoup.com. That's statuscoup.com. Enter your email. If you could be so kind, we are going to be hot and heavy the next few weeks in the field in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and I might be going, Jen and I might be going somewhere very soon as well. So we want to alert you when we're in the field and what we're working on. So please, please, please support us. And a new request. I hope it's not too much for you. We are pushing our Instagram. If you are a progressive that lives on Instagram, What are you doing? Follow us at Status Coup. That's Instagram.com/Status Coup. We're going to be doing a lot more on the IG. I'm not going to lie, I'm not as cool as you guys, so I'm very big on Twitter. Don't know as much about Instagram. Maybe you guys could teach me. So follow us on Instagram. That's IG, Instagram, Status Coup. So, you know, it's really interesting. There's this thing, Joe Biden, I think, has been running for president still kind of mentally in 1995 because I don't particularly think he realizes. Oh, by the way, this is a super chat. Thank you, not provided, $2. Do you take suggestions for music? Sure, anything that does not get us a copyright violation. That's the suggestion. Anything that doesn't get us a copyright violation, we are down with. So, thank you for the super chat. Keep it coming in the super chat. Also, just so you know, Joe Biden says he's surging. We're really surging. We are now at 823 paid members. Let's get a couple more of you today. Sign up on the bottom line. That's statuscoup.com/join. Support real independent journalism in the field. We just added Iowa to our map, so this map is getting a whole lot more microphones. That we've been all over the place, and we're going to be in a lot more places coming up in the next few weeks. So, Joe Biden, I think he thinks he's running in 1995 because he keeps Donald Trumping us, just saying up is down. By the way, I'm not really covering the impeachment trial. It's not because I don't think Trump didn't do anything bad, but do you really need me to cover impeachment to know what's going on? I mean, it's everywhere. So I'll monitor it as best I can, but I don't plan on covering much of it just because it's being covered 24/7 elsewhere. And I think we need to cover other things that are being ignored, other very important things. So if you're looking for impeachment, go elsewhere. But Biden thinks he could Donald Trump us by saying up is down, down is up, 2 + 2 = 5. And nobody's going to go look. He doesn't realize there's this thing called Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and, apps and all this stuff where people can find the things he said over a 30-year career. It's truly astounding. So, right on cue, as right after Bernie Sanders apologized, which he shouldn't have. Sorry, Bernie bros and girls. I don't think he should have apologized. Right on cue, Joe Biden did an attack ad on Bernie Sanders, saying Bernie's campaign, with the scary music. Bernie's campaign is sending out distorted, edited videos on Joe's record and blah, 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 and all this garbage. So credit to Bernie Sanders. Instead of, bowing down further, Bernie came back strong with, I think, a very effective digital ad, which has 3 million views right now. If you haven't seen it, here it is.
When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Well, we've got some bad news for them. We are not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand benefits.
Can I just say, whoever's doing the ads for Bernie Sanders' campaign, when you're done with that, if you wouldn't mind maybe doing an ad for Status Coup, we love you. So these ads are terrific. That is a great ad. So that has up to 3 million views on the Twitter. Chris Garrett, $5. Let's get this media revolution going. Chip in. I agree, Chris Garrett. Thank you so much. Always supporting us. Really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. So, and remember, we got almost 400 people watching. Only 193 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get more of you to please, please, please press the thumbs up button right under the video? So, Joe Biden, the record is the record. I mean, what are you going to do? And by the way, I personally think Bernie's campaign, obviously their polling is probably showing that Social Security is a really winning issue for them. And seniors care, number 1 or 2 about their Social Security. So that's why they're hammering. But Hey, why don't you throw in some ads on NAFTA? Why don't you throw in some ads on him voting to repeal Glass-Steagall? How about the crime bill? How about all these things? But I digress. I'm just, a journalist here. Thank you, Lily Rowe. Here's $2 from Terminally Insane People. Thank you, Lily. We love our terminally insane people. So, Joe Biden, where does he go? He can't come back with a lot of advertisements showing Bernie Sanders calling to cut Social Security or calling to cut Medicare or calling to cut food stamps or calling to go to war, all these things. It doesn't exist. So what is he doing? He's going to the comfy confines of Morning Joe. His friends, Joe and Mika. He's running to Morning Joe to fluff his pillow and protect poor old Joe. Middle-class Joe needs to go to Morning Joe to get his, head patted and rubbed. If I could find it.
Apologize to you for the op-ed written by a surrogate calling you corrupt. They also put out that clip that misrepresented your position when talking about Paul Ryan. Clearly, you were mocking Paul Ryan and being facetious. But just last night, I want to put up a tweet from Bernie Sanders. He wrote this: to you, let's be honest, Joe. One of us fought for decades to cut Social Security. One of us didn't. But don't take it from me, take it from you. They include there a video clip, a statement you made on the Senate floor in 1995 where you were talking about freezing federal spending, including Social Security. So it's not just surrogates, and he can complain, but it's coming from the principal himself. They think they have an issue with you on Social Security. So once and for all, will you cut Social Security benefits if you become president?
No, 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 no. And we weren't talking about cutting them either then. That was trying to figure out how we got through a debacle where the whole government didn't shut down. And so, look, I find it amazing that we go back and look at statements, many of them, most of them take them out of context of 10, 20, 30, 35 years ago. It's like my going back and pointing out how Bernie voted against the Brady bill 5 times while I was trying to get it passed when he was at the House, or how he voted to, protect gun manufacturers as the only group in America you can't sue. I mean, he's made up for that. He's indicated that was passed. But if you want to talk about things that are really different, my support for Social Security has been solid my entire career. I did join with a lot of other Democrats to make sure we fixed Social Security, quote unquote, made it solvent during the Reagan years. Look, it's all about making sure we have one real obligation as Hubert Humphrey said, the youngest among us and the oldest among us. That's real, and I've never walked away from that.
Did you think these attacks from the Sanders campaign are dishonest?
What I don't want to do is start to characterize them. I accept the apology, and I hope we'll argue in the facts. Look, it's all about...
So that was the equivalent of a campaign manager dressing in a suit, putting some makeup on, and interviewing their candidate. I mean, that was the softest of softballs I've ever seen. So let me do what Willie Guy shouldn't have done. I doubt it has anything to do with the fact that MSNBC's parent company, Comcast, did fundraisers for Joe Biden. Its top lobbyist is doing fundraisers for Joe Biden. Comcast has poured in hundreds of millions of dollars to kill net neutrality. And oh, by the way, Joe Biden's not on the record in support of net neutrality. Nothing to do with that. I'm sure Willie just, went out partying too hard last night. So maybe instead of asking Joe Biden, do you promise not to cut Social Security, you could just, do a basic Google search and ask him, well, what do you have to say about the times you've called to means test Social Security? That's a cut. What do you have to do with the times you've said we should maybe raise the retirement age? That's a cut. Instead of this logistic theatrics, it's now the principal saying it. It's now Bernie saying it, not just his campaign. Why don't you actually focus on the fact that this progressive has called to take away, not an entitlement because we pay into it, something that has been earned by the working class people he claims to be fighting for. Why don't you ask him about the several times, not just that clip that was deceptively edited. It wasn't deceptively edited. The times he said it in the 1980s, the 1990s, the 2000s. The fact that, as Sam Stein of the Daily Beast pointed out, Joe Biden is literally, as vice president to Barack Obama, was negotiating on behalf of Obama with Mitch McConnell, with Paul Ryan, to put Social Security on the table as part of a, quote, grand bargain. This is public record. Even the most establishment of the establishment journalists acknowledge this. But they can't argue on the merits, and that's why, in my view, since Joe Biden is under fire for his terrible neoliberal record, that's why you see Hillary Clinton climbing down from woke back mountain and trying and attacking Bernie Sanders. Thank you, Colin Tooley, with the amazing graphic. Maybe we'll put Hillary Clinton and some other figures at the top. Woke back mountain. It's unbelievable. Joe Biden cannot defend the record. So the corporate media is basically hiding that record. They are hiding his record from the American people, particularly the old people that are being hoodwinked into voting for him. You don't think that as soon as Joe Biden becomes president, we're not going to start hearing about a grand bargain again? You don't think as soon as Joe Biden becomes president, the deficit hawks are going to come? Please. So, Joe Biden was, again, asked about this. Bernie Sanders' campaign is going after you on Social Security. And, I mean, kind of an unhinged response today, if you ask me. Let's take a look.
Well, yesterday you said you accepted Bernie's apology and now you're attacking him. Why are you doing that?
Go.
Why wasn't his apology enough, Mr. Vice President?
Right this way,
Why attack Sanders?
Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. He apologized for saying that I was corrupt. He didn't say anything about whether or not I was telling the truth about Social Security.
Thank you guys.
Right
this way,
Why attack Sanders?
Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. He apologized for saying that I was corrupt. He didn't say anything about whether or not I was telling the truth about Social Security.
Thank you guys.
I don't really know. Thank you, Steady Drummer, $2.99 in the super chat. Appreciate the love. Jess S, $2 in the super chat. Here's two more from terminally insane people. I'll take it. We got 530 people watching. 300 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get another 250 people? Press the thumbs up button right under the video. Makes a huge, huge difference. Keep it going if you could be so kind and press that like button. So I don't really know what's better. Joe Biden's bat shit swear jar. I had to. That batshit face he made. He doesn't only like touching women and sniffing little girls' hair. He also likes shaking male reporters. So at least he's an equal opportunity weirdo. But I don't know what was more creepy. Joe Biden's face or that reporter, like, are you okay, dude? I mean, that reporter, I would argue this is ridiculous. Stop asking questions about, the food fight. He apologized. Why are you attacking him? This is a fucking primary. Would reporters stop focusing on, oh, this is, not so nice, and oh, this is not proper etiquette in this town, and oh. How about you start focusing on the record, the issues? So, putting that aside, the reporter wasn't like, it was a reporter yelling because you're trying to get your question over other reporters' questions. I've done it many, many times. And Joe Biden turns around like a real weirdo and like, why? First of all, I'm going to be honest with you. And I am not trying to be funny. I am trying to be honest here. Okay? A thought came to my mind earlier. Is it possible that Joe Biden truly doesn't remember what he has said in the past about Social Security? I'm not saying this to mock him, and I'm not saying it to be funny. It's more likely that he knows fully well that he's been a warrior for entitlement cuts and this and that. But to me, judging by the mental decline that I've been talking about for 6 months now, that the corporate media won't say out loud, but is obvious to anybody who has two eyes and a brain, is it possible he really doesn't remember things he said in the past? I just don't know. I don't know. But the guy is coming off unhinged. And, I mean, you could go to Morning Joe, you could go to all these places and try to get, protection and this and that. But I believe there actually are more senior citizens, and I'm not saying all senior citizens are establishment. We got a lot of older viewers that watch us, but there are actually older viewers that are on Twitter, that are on Facebook, that are on the internet. So they might not, that ad that Bernie put out that has 3 million views on Twitter, it's getting picked up by other news outlets. So they might not see it on Twitter, but they're seeing it on other news sites that people 50 and above, 60 and above might read. And why I just tweeted this out before I went live. I'm signed up for all the candidates' email lists, whether I like them or not, because I want to see what they're sending out. Joe Biden, I mean, don't get me wrong, Bernie's campaign sends out plenty of emails, mostly for money. But Joe Biden has sent out, by my count, 6 emails in the last 3 days asking for money. 2 in the last 5 hours. I mean, look at this. He sent one at 9:48 this morning. Oh, that's 4:15. Sent one 4:14 this afternoon. Nowhere else to turn. Give me $5. And 9:48 this morning. And several of the emails that he's sending, or his campaign is sending, are saying they're surging. Well, if you're surging, why are you sending out 2 emails within 5 hours? Why are you sending out 6 emails in 3 days? Jen, who does our email marketing, by the way, if you have not signed up for Status Quo's email list, you're missing out. That's how we grow. Jen, if you're surging, would you need to send out 6 emails in 3 days? Would you send out 2 emails within 5 hours? You're an email marketer. Doesn't seem right to me. What do you think, Jen? Let us know in the super chat. So, all of this is going on. I told you this yesterday. It's very likely that Joe Biden is doing this because his internal polling, polling is showing he's doing even worse in Iowa and possibly New Hampshire than the public polls are showing. So you got Bernie on the attack. You got Bernie's, stuck in Washington with this impeachment trial, but he's still got Michael Moore is out on the campaign trail for him. John Cusack has been out on the campaign trail for him. You got Nina Turner, Cornel West. I mean, he's got a lot of high-profile people in the next 2 weeks before Iowa out there for him. So I totally why they are doing it from a marketing campaign standpoint. You missed a word. I totally see why. Oh, okay. Because I think, to me, if I'm reading that, this guy's fucking desperate and I'm not giving him my money. Putting aside that I don't like him. If they're sending out 2 emails within 5 hours, to me, that's not cool, good marketing. That's something else. Maybe like the day before Iowa or the day of, but that's a lot of emails in a 3-day period. So all of this coming, sorry to steal the Hills graphic. We just don't have anyone to make the graphic right now. This is coming when a new CNN poll just came out showing Bernie Sanders in the lead for the first time in CNN's SSRS poll. 27-24. Warren, the frontal attack, the stabbing from the front that Elizabeth Warren did on her friend Bernie Sanders seemed not only to not work, but to backfire spectacularly. This is what happens when you jump off Wokeback Mountain and try to attack your allies. It just doesn't ever work out. So you got Warren very far back. I haven't seen her that far back in a national poll in a while. You got Booty Judge, 11%. Bloomberg, 5%. That charismatic Amy Klobuchar, as the New York Times called her, and we're going to get to the New York Times. I couldn't do it yesterday, but I'm going to do it today. 4%. Yang, 4%. Inside the CNN poll, I mean, this tells the story. CNN, October, Biden at 34. November, 28. December, 26. 24. Now, opposite. Bernie, 16 in October. 17, 20, 27. That is a stark decline. And I want to be consistent here. CNN, I've had issues with their polling because they wildly undersample. They undersample younger voters. But I looked at this poll, and this poll actually had more cell phone. No, they contacted more people with cell phones than landlines. That indicates to me they contacted more people under the age of 50. Well, what do you know? When they actually do polling and try to get a decent or close to equal number of people that they're polling under 50 versus over 50, Bernie Sanders does incredibly well. But there are two pollsters in particular that this whole campaign season, because Jen and I have looked at the polling significantly, are known for oversampling older voters. That's Monmouth University and that's Quinnipiac. So, Bernie doing very well in that CNN poll. Biden, as you could see, I mean, that's a 10-point decline from October to now, the national polls. And that is the last vice president to a popular Democratic president. He's still popular, Obama. So I keep hearing, Biden's the most electable, he's the most popular. Well, everything that's coming out in the last few days indicates the opposite. Not only do you have that poll, Newsweek story right here. A new poll just came out showing head-to-heads against Donald Trump. Well, what do you know? Bernie Sanders has the biggest lead against Donald Trump. Survey USA has 4,069 registered voters nationwide. Trump versus the Democratic candidates. Bernie, 52 to 43, up 9 points. Biden, up 7 points. Why this is so important? Yes, Biden is up, but it shows Bernie Sanders in a better position than Biden. Guess what? In 2016, it was the same exact story. Bernie Sanders, head-to-head against Donald Trump, was beating Donald Trump by a larger margin than Hillary Clinton. But you know what we heard? Well, the media hasn't laid a glove on Bernie Sanders. Oh, the opposition research, they haven't even started with the opposition research yet on Bernie Sanders. I don't care what the head-to-head polls say now. In 2016, Hillary, the polling, I don't care that Bernie's doing better. He won't win. Hillary would win. Same exact thing we're hearing now about Joe Biden. The only difference is Joe Biden is actually a worse candidate than Hillary Clinton. At least Hillary Clinton could construct sentences fully. At least she wasn't sniffing little children's hair. At least she wasn't going like, woo, to reporters. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And by the way, be careful what you wish for, Democrats. Because I got news for you. If the Democrats get to call witnesses for this impeachment hearing, I'm telling you, there's going to be either Hunter Biden or other people called that make Joe Biden look very bad. It might not matter for the impeachment hearing, but it's going to matter politically because Trump is an expert at canceling out his own corruption by pointing out others. That's what he did to Hillary Clinton. That's what he will do to Joe Biden. He's not going to be able to do that to Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders isn't corrupt. And remember, smash that like button. We got over 700 people watching right now. We have 400 of you have pressed that like button. It's the thumbs up button right under the video. Let's get another 300 of you to press that like button. Status Coup, you guys need a Discord server. We're actually talking to someone about that. So we're trying to do a lot of things at once. We have only two people to do it, Jen and I. We're trying to grow our Instagram, grow our text list, grow our email list, grow our YouTube, grow our Twitter. So there's only so many things we could do at once, but we're working on it. So, and we're going to make one just for members. We're going to make a Discord as a bonus to members, and I will be in that Discord at least once a week chatting with members. So it's another perk just for our wonderful Status Coup members, which we're trying to get to 900 by the end of the year. It's going to be a bit of a heavy lift, but we'll see. So sign up if you can, statuscoup.com/join. So in addition to Biden polling worse against Trump than Bernie is polling, there's this recent poll that came out among black voters. Bernie Sanders is polling just as good as Joe Biden among black voters too. Majority of African Americans say they're very concerned about being able to afford housing, food, and necessities. But on the actual numbers, let me get to that. Oh, this isn't the one I wanted. Hold on. Vice African American voters, Biden, Bernie. "56% of African Americans said they'd consider voting for Bernie Sanders. Basically a tie. 54% said the same about Biden. You know what's always interesting to me? If Biden is up by 2 points, they say Biden's in the lead. When Bernie is up, statistical tie. It's the same thing with CNN. They're saying Bernie Sanders joins Joe Biden in the lead, even though he's up 3 points. Yes, it's within the statistical, margin of error. But the framing and how they say it, they give Joe Biden the lead, even if it's within the margin of error. When it's Bernie Sanders, not so much. So let me get this straight. Joe Biden's main electoral argument is, I'm more electable than Donald Trump. Well, polls, I'm more electable to beat Donald Trump than anybody else. Polls are indicating otherwise. I'm doing better among black voters. A lot of polls do show that. Now polls are showing black voters are considering Bernie just as much. Frankly, I think the black voters that are senior citizen African Americans definitely are paying attention to this stuff with Biden. I think Bernie's campaign should go a little further and say Biden tried to do this while he was vice president of Barack Obama. So I think this electability argument is falling apart. And it's going to be interesting. I think it's a little too good to be true. I'm waiting. Joe Biden is talking about all his record is taken out of context and all this stuff. I'm very much waiting for the communism stuff. I think they're going to drop that lickety-split because Elizabeth Warren's thing didn't make a dent. She fell back. He did not. Now you have Hillary Clinton comes out doing this. It backfired to the point where she came out later in the day because she was getting so much fire at her, even from establishment people, for her saying Bernie's awful and I don't know if I'll support him. She came out walking that back. So the sexism stuff has not worked. Bernie's Social Security stuff seems to be working. So what are they going to do next? I think they're going to go with the communism stuff. I'm pretty sure you're going to start to see news articles. Bernie Sanders had strong admiration for Fidel Castro. I'm pretty sure you're going to be seeing news articles. Bernie Sanders had very nice things to say about the Soviet Union. I'm just letting you know. It's coming. It's coming. I'd rather it come now than during the general election. But it's coming. And it's coming fast. So that's the main story. Bernie is surging as Joe Biden is going to Morning Joe to help hide his actual record. So the next story, it might ruffle some of you viewers a little bit. But unlike others, I'm not going to just bow at the altar to politicians, even those we like. I think that, I want to be clear, I am not calling for Tulsi Gabbard or Andrew Yang to drop out now. That is not what I'm saying. I think both of them have really, really grassroots support. I think Tulsi in particular has been treated truly, truly, sickeningly unfairly. I think that Yang has been blacked out, even though I don't support Yang. I do think he's been treated unfairly. But the numbers are the numbers. Here's the latest New Hampshire poll. You got Steyer at 3, Klobuchar 5, Gabbard 5, Yang 6, Warren at 10, Buttigieg at 12, Biden at 15, Bernie at 16. So other polls have showed Bernie up a little bit more. But overall, I don't really think it's about what the actual polls say now. I think it's about what happens in Iowa. If the Iowa caucus were held today, and again, it's in a little less than 2 weeks. If the Iowa caucus were held today, I think Bernie Sanders would win. And until now, I've been saying I think it's a coin toss between Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. I think Bernie's momentum is so strong right now, I think if it were held today, he would win. So let's assume for a second, big assumption, still got to win. Let's assume that Bernie Sanders wins the Iowa caucus. This is not about whether you like Tulsi Gabbard or you don't. This is not about whether Tulsi Gabbard has been screwed or she hasn't. She has. 100%. It's not about whether her voice belongs on a debate stage. It does, but she's not going to be in any more debates. She hasn't been in the last 2. This is about cold hard reality here, right? Tulsi Gabbard, in the majority of polls that I've seen in New Hampshire, has been between 4 and 6%, at the high 6%. So, some of Tulsi Gabbard's supporters are saying, well, she's going to poll a lot better. You know, it's not taking into account, same argument that Bernie Sanders supporters are making, and I've made, by the way, that, they're going to bring out new voters that aren't showing up in these polls. And remember, this is a super chat. Keep it coming if you can. We love you. And we got almost 800 viewers, 495 of you have pressed that like button. So can we get over 300 more of you? Please press the thumbs up button. Makes a big difference. So I think if Bernie Sanders wins Iowa, right, and Tulsi Gabbard performs how we think she's going to perform. I mean, right now in the CNN national poll, she's under 4%. In Iowa, if you don't break 15% caucus to caucus, you don't win. Your votes aren't counted in that caucus. So Tulsi, if she doesn't register in those Iowa caucuses, if she doesn't get that 50%, I would assume her voters are going to go to Bernie. That's my assumption. So a question needs to be asked. Would you rather Tulsi Gabbard drop out before New Hampshire? And that 5 or 6% could not only put Bernie Sanders over the top, it could make Bernie Sanders win by 3 to 5%. He's not going to win New Hampshire by 20% like he did over Hillary Clinton. That's just not going to happen. There's too many candidates. But if you win Iowa, if you're Bernie Sanders, you're going to have more momentum than he's ever had in his political career, right? At the same time, if you won Iowa, you're going to have, what we have seen the media do against Bernie Sanders thus far, it's going to look like child's play compared to what would happen if Bernie Sanders wins the Iowa caucus between Iowa and New Hampshire. It would be unprecedented, the attacks. You are going to have everything they've saved and haven't used yet, they're all going to use it in that week. So for the people saying, Jordan, just stop, do this, do that, I'm going to tell you, I'm talking a political reality here. Not what you hope, not what you dream. If you want a progressive to win the Democratic nomination, if you want to beat the DNC rigging, to me, the best way, not the only way, the best way for that to happen is for Bernie Sanders to win Iowa and New Hampshire. And to me, if Bernie Sanders wins Iowa, yes, he could win New Hampshire even if Tulsi's in it, but it's going to be a lot closer. If Tulsi Gabbard does not win Iowa and Tulsi Gabbard does very poorly in Iowa, I'm just being honest. You might not like it. You might love Tulsi and not want to believe it. She's not going to win New Hampshire. She's not going to win New Hampshire. She might outperform her polling. She might do 10% rather than 5 or 6%, but she's not going to win New Hampshire. So the question is for you, the Tulsi Gabbard supporter. Would you rather Tulsi support Bernie Sanders before New Hampshire, see that put Bernie Sanders over the edge, and possibly have him win by a comfortable margin because he'll get the majority of her support if she drops out before? It's just the reality. If Bernie Sanders wins Iowa and New Hampshire, it's lights out for Elizabeth Warren. It's lights out for Pete Buttigieg. It's lights out for, well, it's already lights out in my view, but it's lights out for Amy Klobuchar. Honestly, if Bernie wins Iowa and New Hampshire, it is a must win for Joe Biden in Nevada. If the last vice president of the United States, if the most electable, loses Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, it doesn't even matter if he wins South Carolina. If he loses Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, Joe Biden is not going to win the nomination. Yeah, you can make an argument. What about Super Tuesday, this stuff? It's also about momentum. It's also about a narrative. He's not, I don't know of anyone that has lost Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. Now, sometimes South Carolina has come before Nevada, but Nevada is before South Carolina this time. So to me, again, I'm not calling for her to drop out now, but I do think it's up for debate. And I'm just keeping it real. It might alienate some Tulsi viewers who think don't bring this up. But at the end of the day, if you absolutely know there is no chance. For example, when everybody was excited for Bernie to go all the way to the convention, even though he had no statistical way of winning, everybody was excited about that, and everybody wanted him to do, because look who he was facing. It's not like, oh, if he dropped out, we'd have maybe not the candidate we wanted as a first choice, but we'd still have a good candidate. You were facing Hillary Clinton. That's why everybody was like, yeah, Bernie, go to the convention. If Tulsi Gabbard does that, it's possibly, just because Bernie wins Iowa doesn't make it a slam dunk he's going to win New Hampshire. If Tulsi Gabbard were to throw her support before New Hampshire, again, it might end up Bernie winning New Hampshire. If he wins Iowa, New Hampshire, basically it's 100% just Bernie versus Biden, and Biden has to win, in my view, Nevada. And if he doesn't win Nevada, honestly, even a victory in South Carolina doesn't matter as much, because Biden's not going to win South Carolina by 20 points if he loses Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. Remember, Jeb Bush, who everybody thought was going to be the front runner, Jeb Bush dropped out after South Carolina. Okay? So, all I'm saying, you could say, no, Tulsi deserves to stay in, this, that, and the other thing. If you want a progressive to have a chance to become the Democratic nominee and get around all of this rigging, which we report on the rigging every day, you're gonna have to look at reality. I also think if Tulsi were to bend her support or lend her support to Bernie, it's a lot better chance that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be in the running for vice president, defense secretary, all of these things. So I'm just looking at it from a cold hard calculation. To me, if Bernie Sanders wins Iowa, this right here could be the difference, that 5%. By the way, I make the same exact argument for Andrew Yang. I don't think Andrew Yang is going to drop out, because I think Andrew Yang is loving life right now. I think Andrew Yang, not that he doesn't want to be president, but I also think Andrew Yang is trying to raise his profile. But if Andrew Yang, who is not, in my view, even close to Bernie as far as being a progressive, but if Andrew Yang truly believes in a lot of the working class policies that he's been talking about, if he loses Iowa and doesn't perform well, I don't know why he would stay in for New Hampshire when his support could also benefit Bernie Sanders. I don't think we have time. This is not a moment for, like, message candidates. Not only do we need to defeat Donald Trump, We need to defeat the corporate Democratic establishment. So to me, I think there will be a real debate and a real discussion if Bernie wins Iowa to Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang. Do you want to keep your message going, or do you want to help a progressive win? A lot of you might not like it, but that's the truth. So, we got 850 people watching. 590 of you have pressed that like button. Can I get another 250 people? Press the thumbs up button. It makes a huge difference. Want to read some comments before I get into the next one? Henry, Defense Secretary. Schnizzery. Maybe Tulsi is gambling on a position on Bernie's administration. Secretary of Defense. I would love Tulsi Gabbard as the Secretary of Defense, personally. I think that is the best position she could be in. It would be way more effective than Vice President, which is not as effective as a position. And God, you want to put a dent in the military-industrial complex? Throw Tulsi Gabbard as Defense Secretary. Just my opinion. Yang equals a donut. Okay. If Tulsi if Tulsi supporters would vote for Biden or Trump if she dropped out, they can't claim to be as anti-war as they have said. I think most Tulsi Gabbard supporters, when I see second choice, it's Bernie, not Biden or Yang. All right, keep the comments coming. Of course, super chats I'll be reading first. So I haven't had a chance to go to report on this, but I've been dying to report on this. And remember, I want to shout out, we just got a new Status Coup member. Welcome, Tamara. We are now at 824 Status Coup members. Keep it coming. statuscoup.com/join. Tamara, we're so excited to have you on board. And we're having our members call next week. We have 2 members call. One we had, I think, last week. We're having another one at the end of this month. And Jen, based on the conversations we had today, I think we're going to have some fun news for our members in next week's member call. So keep signing up. That's statuscoup.com/join. When you become a member, you not only support and fund our reporting all over the country, you also get bonus content, a members call once a month, bonus videos, and we're going to be creating a special Discord just for members where I'll be in it. Jen will be in it, not all the time, but some of the time, to interact with you. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. So I'm a little late on this. I apologize. But the New York Times. Oh, my God. They endorse Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren. I just want to give credit. My girlfriend got it right. I thought it was going to be Joe Biden. She said it was going to be Klobuchar. Well, she got it half right. She said Klobuchar, but she couldn't have expected that they were going to do this double endorsement nonsense. So kudos to Anat for her crystal ball of this. You know, to me, it was actually very valuable to read the New York Times endorsement and why they did it. Because if you needed any other indication of how out of touch these people are, how, honestly, you would think they're New York Times reporters, New York Times editorial board, how in some cases they're actually not even that intelligent because they don't understand facts. It's unbelievable. But before I get into my take, I want to remind you, look at the New York Times faces when Bernie Sanders made this point to them.
What about the fact that Trump has touched a chord in 40 to 44% of the people? What about that issue? It's like Trump is a symptom of a widespread problem.
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you address that?
What is the issue? How did Trump become president? Not everybody, but tens and tens of millions of Americans feel that the political establishment, Republican and Democrat, have failed them. Maybe the New York Times has failed them too.
That explains the appeal of racism?
Yeah. People are, in many cases in this country, working longer hours for low wages. You are aware of the fact that in an unprecedented way, life expectancy is actually going down in America because of diseases of despair. People have lost hope, and they are drinking, they're doing drugs, they're committing suicide. And when that condition arises, whether it was the 1930s in Germany, then people are susceptible to the blame game. To say that it is the undocumented people in this country who are the cause of all of our problems. And if we just throw 10 million people out of the country, you're going to have a good job, and you're going to have good health care, and you have good education. That's all we got to do. So all over the world, Trump didn't invent demagoguery. It's an age-old weapon, and you take a minority, and you demonize that minority, and you blame that minority, and you take the despair and the anger and the frustration that people are feeling, and you say, that's the cause of your problem.
My favorite reaction was the female journalist. I don't know her name. When she said when her face was like, it just shows you how out of touch these people are. Don't get me wrong, racism is a thing. Obviously, there are Trump supporters who are racist. I've gone through this many times, but because they are this out of touch, they don't truly understand, or frankly to me, care that much about the economic misery out there in the country. And how can they? Most of those people in that room making their endorsement, which, by the way, the build up to this thing, we have to wait till 10 o'clock at night. It's an hour-long show before you give your endorsement. Don't think so highly of yourself. Not everybody is dying to know who the New York Times endorses. So I knew they weren't going to endorse Bernie, but the reasons that they give for all this is where it truly stands out. And if you ever want to have a good argument with your neoliberal aunt or somebody who's kind of a limousine liberal about why they should stop reading the New York Times, or at least not make their decisions based on the New York Times, write down what I'm about to tell you, or record or play this video for them. So the first thing that stood out to me, they say, Senator Warren is a gifted storyteller. That's true. She certainly is a gifted storyteller. She tells stories. She speaks elegantly on how the economic system is rigged against all but the wealthiest Americans, and of, quote, our chance to rewrite the rules of power in our country. In her hands, that story has the passion of a convert, a longtime Republican from Oklahoma, and a middle-class family whose work studying economic realities left her increasingly worried about the future of the country. The word rigged feels less bombastic than rooted in an informed assessment of what the nation needs to do to reassert its historical ideals like fairness, generosity, and equality. Right here, the New York Times just gave it away. And by the way, welcome, new Status Coup member Paul. We just got another new member. We are now at 825 Status Coup members. Keep it coming if you can. Statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. So right here, they're giving it away. Elizabeth Warren feels less bombastic. You know what that indicates to me? Elizabeth Warren is just less critical of us, of our class. And when she does criticize our class, she doesn't wave her arms around. She doesn't yell. She's not angry. She does it in an academic way, in a succinct, proper way that we could discuss over Chardonnay. That is exactly what the New York Times writers are saying right there. It's not that Elizabeth Warren is making a more informed case on corruption, income inequality. I'd argue Bernie Sanders is more informed on this topic than anyone in the Democratic race, or anyone in the country for that matter. It's just that it feels less bombastic coming from Elizabeth Warren. So, to me, that's what they're telling you. They're telling you she's less critical of us. And when she does criticize our class, it's done in a nice, smart, academic way, and I could read it in a white paper while I drink my Pinot Noir and eat my avocado toast. So that was the first thing. Then you have the Democratic primary contest is often portrayed as a tussle between moderates and progressives. To some extent, that's true. But when we spent significant time with the leading candidates, the similarity of their platforms on fundamental issues became striking. Nearly any one of them would be the most progressive president in decades on issues like healthcare, the economy, and the government's allocations of resources. Where they differ most significantly is not the what, but the how. This is the same bullshit that the media was selling us about Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders. Oh, they're a lot more similar than you think. A lot more similar than you think. And, oh, it's not really them differing on the what, it's just how to do it. This is not true. It is, the policies are very different. It's not just the how, it's the what. Bernie Sanders is the only candidate for a single-payer, Medicare for all healthcare system. Elizabeth Warren isn't for it. She could say she's for it in the third year of her presidency, but anybody with a brain knows she ain't fighting for Medicare for all. In 2012, when asked about it, she said she's for Obamacare. She wasn't for Medicare for all. She's moonwalked all over the place. She ain't for Medicare for all. That's not a how of getting it done. That's the what. Amy Klobuchar is for expanding Obamacare with a vibrant public option. Biden, same thing. These are major, major differences. This is the difference between people living and dying. I don't care how Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Warren gift wrap it. A vibrant public option isn't a guarantee of health care. You got to buy in to this public option. You still have a private insurance industry, which makes a public government option weaker because the government option doesn't have the monopoly on care. That's why single payer is so important. It gets rid of the duplicative coverage, and the government sets the prices and all that. So Elizabeth Warren could say she's for Medicare for all. She's not. If she was, she'd be fighting for it day one, but she's not for it. And it's naive and ridiculous to think you're gonna get a public option through Congress in 100 days, and then in year 3 you're gonna fight to get Medicare for all. No. This is the fantasy of I have a plan. She's got a plan for everything, but the Democratic Party, right? The Democratic Party calls Bernie pie in the sky. He's not going to get any of these things done. But Warren is proposing things that are even more pie in the sky. Actually, legitimately, cannot work. And they don't ask those things. So, public education. Not everyone is free for free public college. Amy Klobuchar, Joe Biden, free community college. Well, that's a difference. The planet is burning. Bernie Sanders is for actually tackling it as a number one priority. The other candidates aren't. Other than Bernie, Tulsi, and Warren, kind of, all the other candidates are for allowing fracking to continue. I tell you, read Rolling Stone's new investigation on the radioactive waste and the radioactiveness that fracking wells are releasing around this country. Amy Klobuchar in a debate, the same Amy Klobuchar that the New York Times just endorsed, said natural gas is a good transition fuel. No, natural gas is killing the planet because of the methane and the radioactiveness it's emitting into the air and the water. Here's another gem, and keep on pressing the like button. We're almost at 900 viewers. The more people that press that thumbs up button, the more people that will see this live stream. So there are legitimate questions about whether our democratic system is fundamentally broken. Our governments are getting less free and fair. Congress and the courts are increasingly partisan. Foreign nations are flooding society with misinformation. So are you. A deluge of money flows through our politics, and the economic mobility that made the American dream possible is vanishing. Both the radical and the realist models warrant serious consideration. That's why we're endorsing the most effective advocates for each approach. They are Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar. Right here also gives the game away. First of all, we'll get to the fact that Elizabeth Warren is not representing radical change. And apparently super chats aren't working, so there's the PayPal link. I don't know why super chats aren't working. It's almost like there's a person operating our YouTube channel screwing with us. First of all, the fact that the New York Times thinks it's a radical position to provide for a government to provide its citizens health care shows that the New York Times is radical. That is a radical mindset. That you think it is radical to provide governments basic services like healthcare, that's a radical take. And you think the realist position is allowing people to die because they can't pay the bill? I would argue that is the radical viewpoint. Pay or die. That's radical. But in the world of the affluent New York Times writer, they think it's radical to provide healthcare. They think it's radical to provide education. They think it's radical, as the planet's burning, to want to invest trillions of dollars in that. It defies logic. Secondly, when they say Elizabeth Warren is radical, or her positions are radical, and she is the most effective person from the radical viewpoint, what is radical about Elizabeth Warren? She's calling for up to $50,000 of student loan debt to be erased. It's better than nothing. It's not radical. $50,000 of student loan debts is just a meal at the cafeteria for most. Most people have much more than $50,000 of student loan debt. She, everything with her, it's kind of like in the middle. It's some relief packaged as revolutionary big structural change, but it ain't going all the way. She's going around having hot tea with a who's who of the Democratic establishment all over the country. She's calling and text messaging. Reports a couple of months ago said this. Hillary Clinton. She's for the same U.S. foreign policy that we've had for the last 40 years. She voted for Trump's budget. Tell me what's radical about Elizabeth Warren. Maybe it's radical to these folks because they have, let me tell you something, they got really, really good health care as employees of the New York Times. They got great benefits. I've been to the New York Times building. They got a badass cafeteria. So I'd like to know what's radical. Keep it coming. Super Chat's not working, so Jen's just dropped the PayPal link. Or sign up as a member. 825 Status Coup members right now. So, PayPal, what is it, Jen? PayPal.me/status coup? PayPal.me/status coup, since Super Chat's not working. So, I mean, I got if you could stomach any more of this, I got a few more. You got they say that at the dawn of 2020, some of the most compelling ideas are not emerging from the center, but from the left of the Democratic Party. That's a testament to the effectiveness of the case that Bernie Sanders and Senator Warren have made all around the country. No, this is the effectiveness of Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren just borrowed it. Let's be real here. We worry about ideological rigidity and overreach, and we'd certainly push back on specific proposals like nationalizing health insurance or decriminalizing the border. Again, they don't explain why we shouldn't nationalize healthcare. They don't understand why that's a rigid position when every other country, civilized country, has the same exact thing Bernie's talking about. They don't explain what specifically is radical about this, what specifically is rigid about this. Nobody knows. But from the ivory tower of the New York Times, the highly well-paid people, I'm telling you, there are some reporters that put their lives in danger for the New York Times. Not in that room that were interviewing Bernie Sanders. They are sitting in their cubicles in ivory towers. They don't report. They don't go out into the field, the majority of those people. They're not talking to the single mother in a trailer park in Indiana like I've done. They're not coming from closed down factories in Michigan. They're not going to South Bend, Indiana talking to the black residents like Status Coup does. No. So to them, it's rigid and radical nationalizing health care. They also say Warren sometimes sounds like a candidate who sees a universe of us versus dems who in the general election would be going up against a president who has already divided America into his own version of them and us. This has been most obvious in her case for Medicare for All, where she has already had to soften her message as voters have expressed their lack of support for her plan. So there's multiple things wrong with this. Number one, and in fairness to Elizabeth Warren, they're doing the same thing to Elizabeth Warren that they're doing to Bernie Sanders. They're trying to equate Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren calling out the corporate greed and us versus them, the 99% versus the 1%. I think Bernie does it a lot stronger than her. I think Bernie's a lot more sincere about it than her. I think she used to be very sincere. I'm not so sure anymore. But this us versus them is a populist us versus them. Trump is an us versus them of Islamophobia, of racism, of fascism. But the New York Times just equates it, both sidism. It's all the same. Why do we want one divisive president? So we don't want Warren, who's being rigid and dividing us. We don't want Bernie, who's going to divide us. Got news for you. The country has been divided since it found, and the country will be, since its founding, and the country is going to be divided for the rest of the country. That's just the truth. That's why, frankly, I don't personally buy into. I think she's sincere, but Tulsi's message of heal the world, let's unite the country, I think she's sincere about it. I truly do. Other candidates who say this, I think they're full of it. But you know what unites people? Healthcare. You know what unites people? If you don't have to work 2 to 3 jobs. You know what makes people less angry and things cools down the temperature? If you're not clawing with your fingernails to stay afloat. That's what helps unite people. That's what helps make people less desperate, less hopeless, and as a result, less angry. That's the truth. We got a new Status Coup member. Welcome, Alex, new Status Coup member. We are now at 826 Status Coup members. And for those of you who don't know, we're going to have our monthly members call next week. We got a lot to talk about there. I got some bonus videos coming. We're going to have bonus content in the field for you. So stay tuned for that. And we will have some bonus content. I don't want to say any more, but Jen and I have a big story that we have some progress on. We think it's going to be coming out in the next few weeks, thank God. And we'll have some bonus content just for the members. And Jen and I are talking to someone right now about creating a Discord just for members that Jen and I will go into at least once a week. I will go. I don't want to make Jen do it because she's doing 25 other things. I'm going to try to go in there once a week too. So keep signing up. You can sign up for as low as $5 a month. Every member counts. And let me tell you something. The more members we get, the much easier case we have to make to get larger funding from progressive sources. Not George Soros, not Jeffrey Katzenberg, not the mega donors to the Democratic and Republican Party. No. We're not doing that. But we do need larger funding, so we're trying to get that. Right now, don't want to say who. Currently talking to 2 different people, both of them very progressive. So fingers crossed on that. So, I mean, they're just so out of touch. And this is why I said at the beginning of this, I don't even think they're that smart. Because do they not realize? All you got to do is look at the polls. Warren was in first place when she was with Bernie on Medicare for All. She was in first place. Nationally. In Iowa, she was in first place. In New Hampshire, she got in first place when she was for Medicare for All. She starts moonwalking faster than Michael Jackson. All of a sudden, she starts sliding. She puts forward a ridiculous transition plan. Oh, I'm going to pay for it by comprehensive immigration reform. Cutting the defense budget. That's how I'll pay for it. Oh, we're going to do a public option within 100 days. Then in year 3, we'll pass a Medicare for All. This is when she fell, when she was actually had the courage of her convictions, whatever those convictions are, because they seem to change quite often. She was polling very well. She was a threat to Bernie. But she did her political calculation just like she did in 2016, and the proof is in the pudding. Then you have the New York Times saying Sanders would be 79 when he assumes office, and after October heart attack, his health is a serious concern. Then there's how Mr. Sanders approaches politics. He boasts that compromise is anathema to him. Only his prescriptions can be the right ones, even though most are overly rigid, untested, and divisive. He promises that once in office, a groundswell of support will emerge to push through his agenda. 3 years into the Trump administration, we see little advantage to exchanging one overpromising divisive figure in Washington for another. Good news, then, that Warren has emerged as a standard bearer for the Democratic left. So let me translate this for you. Wink, wink. Warren's saying what she's got to say now, but, you know, she'll work with it. She'll work with us if elected. Not Bernie. So there's many things they said that aren't true. Compromise being anathema to him, points for a big word from the New York Times. Compromise, Bernie Sanders has never said he's not willing to compromise. What he has said is, I'm not willing right out of the gate to offer up 50% like Obama did. My first thought is not to compromise with Mitch McConnell. We're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to, unlike Obama, who had a massive volunteer army, had his group Organizing for America, and basically left them and didn't utilize them. Jordan, do you have someone lined up after Bernie wins to be your White House reporter? Who said that? Alan, do I have someone lined up? Help me pay for a White House reporter. I got plenty of people I would consider to be a White House reporter, but we got to have money for that. At the moment, we don't have time to hire another full-time reporter. We would like to, but we don't have the money for that. So that's why we're trying to grow. Right now, we're funding. Obviously, I need to take money to eat. Jen, Colin, Marcus. We will have some news in the coming weeks about a new camera person we're bringing on in a freelance capacity. So we're covering a good amount of people. That's why we're trying to grow, so we could hire another reporter. We also want to hire another marketing person so we could take a good chunk of the load off of Jen, and we could move her over to doing more actual journalism. So she could do more interviews in the field. So she could do more written stories. Right now, it's just her. So we need to get money to get some more marketing, social media, email marketing help. So Jen could do a lot more of the journalism that she's very good at, and you guys love her for. So that's why we're saying, sign up. We're not asking you to become members so we could go out and go to the casino. Trust me. It's to build. I hate to steal from Bernie. We're doing this thing from the bottom up. We had a very small investment in the beginning from a viewer. It was $50,000. We spent it on equipment and at the time bringing on Ty. And after that, we haven't had any more investments. So it's been GoFundMe, it's been membership, and I am very proud, and I know Jen is. I mean, we've done a lot with little money. All of these trips cost a good chunk of money. Some of them have cost $4,000 for the amount of time we spent there, changing flights last minute, those kinds of things. So keep it coming, statuscoup.com/join, or you could leave it to CNN. If you want, you could leave it to CNN. And by the way, we have Super Chat is apparently down. I don't know if YouTube's screwing with us or something like that. So you could support us at PayPal as well. If Super Chat's not working, Jen has been putting in the PayPal link. It's paypal.me/statuscoup. So Bernie is willing to compromise. He compromised with the devil himself, John McCain, to create the veterans health care system. A lot of veterans' lives were saved by that bill. Bernie Sanders has worked with Mike Lee, who I think is pretty despicable on most things, to enact the War Powers Act. Bernie Sanders has worked with Republicans and gotten many, many, many amendments added to bills. That's why they call him the Amendment King. Bernie Sanders did not want Obamacare. It was not his preferred thing. But when the writing was on the wall, Bernie Sanders fit in and compromised with the Democratic Party and gave his vote for Obamacare, and he got in $9 billion to Obamacare. So there's a lot of compromise here. It's not that he's not willing to compromise, it's that he's not willing to surrender right out of the gate what he wants. Like, does the New York Times, do they look up people's records? Do they look up people's votes? There are news articles, by the way, about Bernie Sanders compromising. Bernie Sanders, compromiser. Compromise. Daily Beast. I saw something. Right here. This was from the Daily Beast a few days ago. The New York Times editorial board decision on Sunday to hand out dual endorsements, blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, you got to be a member to read this. But this article talks about Bernie as the compromiser. The Huffington Post has written about Bernie compromising over the years. It's just not true what they're saying. Bernie Sanders as president might not get every single thing he wants. But would you rather a president that has to compromise but won't sell you out as part of that compromise? Would you rather a president that fights to the deaths for the whole kit and cabal? Or one that makes a deal with Mitch McConnell right out of the gate? Like Joe Biden think is so fantastic. This is, when they say bipartisan compromise, what they're really meaning is watering down legislation so the rich, the lobbyists, and the donors could eat cake and you and I could eat crumbs. That's what that is. When they say Warren has sharp plans to sharply increase federal investment in clean energy research and to wean the American economy from fossil fuels, I don't give a damn what her plans are. She just voted for NAFTA 2.0, which does not even have the phrase climate change in it. There are laughable environmental regulations in the USMCA. There are laughable environmental regulations in the new NAFTA. I don't care what she's writing on a piece of paper. For anyone who claims to understand that climate change and the climate crisis, I call it the inferno. I think climate change is a little too bland. I think people will get it if you call it the inferno. For them to not, the first thing that comes to their mind is that when voting on a multi-country trade deal, tells me I don't really care what they write down on a piece of paper. Their priorities are not set straight. This is one of the major reasons the Sunrise Movement endorsed Bernie. 80% of the Sunrise Movement vote went to Bernie Sanders. And at least they, unlike the Working Families Party, will publicly say so. So, two more. American capitalism is responsible for its share of sins. Oh, just a small share of sins. But Miss Warren often casts the net far too wide, placing the blame for a host of maladies from climate change to gun violence at the feet of the business community when the onus is on society as a whole. Yeah, you know, it's society who sold the jobs to Mexico and China. It's society. It's society that's why your factories are closed down. Why the vibrant storefronts and little villages of business you used to have in your community now are just boarded up, closed down stores. That's society did that. It's society who's gentrifying your downtowns wherever you live. It's society why you're working 2 to 3 jobs. It's society why black people are being murdered all over the country. It's society why anyone in America can right now go into a movie theater, a mall, a movie theater, a mall, a school, a market, wherever, and with a bazooka gun if they wanted to, and blow up the place. Society did that. Welcome, new Status Coup member, Tylor, Tylor. Welcome to the Media Revolution. 827 Status Coup members. I love it. Keep it going. $5 a month. You can become a member. Unless you want to rely on CNN to do this reporting. If you want CNN to do it, that's fine. And frankly, there's some independent outlets that ask people to sign up as members. And what do you get? 24/7 Trump, 24/7 Russia. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Not provided. Jen, you just texted me not provided at Status Coup. Elizabeth Warren was not polite when she said to Bernie, I think you called me a liar on national TV. Also, I call it double standards on steroid. How the media fails to call out Biden's abruptness. Hashtag take off the gloves. P.S. I was wondering why my purchase was failing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a comment he made while PayPaling us. Keep a comment on the PayPal while Super Chat is down. Oh, now we're going to have to, Jen, now we're going to have the 10th conversation in the last week with YouTube. Do you know how many conversations? Oh, I'm going to go off on this in the members call next week. Do you know how many conversations Jen and I have had to have with YouTube on the phone? Frankly, no offense, with people in India in the last 2 weeks. I've had 2 today We had 2 yesterday, and at least 1 for the several days before that. It's absurd. I think honestly at this point they're just trolling us and trying to make us go mad, and it's working. It's working. So, last one. Apparently, Miss Warren's path to the nomination is challenging but not hard to envision. The 4 frontrunners are bunched together both in national polls and surveys in states holding the first votes, so small shifts in voter sentiment can have an outsized influence in this early in the campaign. There are plenty of progressives who are hungry for major change but may harbor lingering concerns about a messenger as divisive as Mr. Sanders. What they're really saying there, our readers are hungry for change, but Bernie wasn't nice enough to Hillary. That statement is basically speaking to the citizens of Wokeback Mountain. That's what it is. The reason that Bernie Sanders is divisive is because Bernie Sanders will not backslap politicians. Bernie Sanders will not call you on your birthday. Bernie Sanders, as he told them, doesn't tolerate bullshit. He ain't a perfect man by any means. But what they mean by that is Bernie Sanders isn't nice enough to us wealthy, affluent, educated people. He criticizes us too much. It's divisive. Well, apparently the American people are attracted to that. If that's divisive, the American people are attracted to it. Because he's leading in this poll. I've already showed you the other polls he's doing very well in or leading. Now you have the new early state tracking poll. This is from Morning Consult. Bernie's up 4 points. That's right there within the margin of error, again, to Biden. How Tom Steyer is here, don't let anyone ever tell you money can't buy office. Tom Steyer is there because he is papering all of these states with commercials, including Iowa, including New Hampshire, including Nevada. Warren, I'll tell you what, controversial thing. If Warren doesn't do well in Iowa, if Warren comes in 4th place in Iowa, 4th or 5th place, she's not going to. But if Warren wants to prove she's actually progressive, if Warren wants to prove she's an ally, if she wants to make up for leaving Bernie at the altar in 2016, if she wants to make up for stabbing him in the front now, I say, if Tulsi's going to drop out, or if I'm saying Tulsi should consider dropping out, why shouldn't Warren? She supposedly, the media keeps talking about, she has the most staff. She has the most staff in Iowa, and she has the best ground game in Iowa compared to anyone. Well, if she comes in 4th place, I don't know about that. I don't know what a path she has. Welcome, new Status Coup members, Stacy. Welcome to the Media Revolution, Stacy. Now at 828 Status Coup members. Can we get this party to 830? Can we get to 830? 5 new members so far. Thank you, Stacy. Really, really appreciate it. So, I didn't even show you this. New college poll. This is from Chegg College Pulse Student Monitoring. They do specifically college polls. You got Bernie, 41%, Warren, 21%, Yang, 12%, 8% for Biden, 8% for Buttigieg. That's pretty sad for Buttigieg if you're tied with Joe Biden. And in Iowa, the same college poll, a little bit closer, but Bernie's still out in the lead. So, I got news for you folks. It is. Right now, nobody should be complacent. Nobody should be content. Nobody should think this thing is in the bag. I promise you, the establishment knives are coming. I promise you, Joe Biden, who's saying you're taking me out of context, you wait. I am promising you. The communism stuff is coming. It's coming. The comments he made about Fidel Castro, the comments he's made about the Soviet Union, the comments he's made about Nicaragua, They're going to go back to the 1970s if they have to. Comments Bernie Sanders has made. But at this point, I just don't know if any of that's going to be effective. I really don't. They could try to scare the living hell out of older people. But Bernie's campaign, I mean, as heartbreaking as it was for a lot of you watching in 2016, the fact that Bernie Sanders' campaign has done this before, and now they are, obviously they're against the oil, but they're a well-oiled machine this time. They have a lot more campaign staffers. They have a digital operation that they have been building since his loss in 2016. Bernie's digital operation is better than some digital media companies. Welcome new Status Coup member, another sign up, Brandon. We are now at 829 Status Coup members. Oh my Lord. Keep it coming. I would love to get to 830. And by the way, all you new Status Coup members signing up, you'll get a link for our members chat, which we're going to be having next week. So if you become a Status Coup member, you will get a link from us through Zoom. We don't do the members call on YouTube. To join our members call. It's a video call, but you don't have to be on video if you don't want to be. You could mute your video so you're not on video, but we have a lot of fun. It's a lot of TMI. Jen, myself, it's going to be great. Keep it coming, new members. So, last thing I'll say on this, I think what's really, really critical here, and in a weird way, as much as the impeachment trial going on right now hurts Bernie just because it doesn't allow him to be in Iowa as much, it also benefits him in some ways too. CNN and MSNBC are pretty much wall-to-wall impeachment hearings, meaning they don't have the time to do ridiculous stories wall-to-wall like Elizabeth Warren, Bernie said something not nice to Elizabeth Warren. It's wall-to-wall. Even before the actual hearing starts, you have the pregame coverage on CNN and MSNBC. So they don't have as much time to put propaganda out there against Bernie Sanders. I mean, at least what I've been watching is wall-to-wall on the impeachment. So Biden might put this stuff out about the communism, this stuff, but it's not going to have as much real estate because CNN and MSNBC, which that is where the older voters are watching. I'm not criticizing them for being old. That's the audience. That's the average viewer is an older American. So I think that helps Bernie. It sucks that he can't be out there as much because he's got to be in the Senate, but it helps him because there's not as much. There's no time for the propaganda. AG, you sure? Yeah, I'm sure they'll find a way. They could find a way, but the bottom line is it's not all day, which allows Bernie Sanders' campaign for a rare window of time to be unopposed with their digital media operation. Because I think Bernie Sanders' digital media operation, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever the hell app just was created within the last hour, is successful right now in neutralizing the corporate propaganda. So if the corporate propaganda is not, if the impeachment is taking up all of the airwaves, including in print papers, most of the columns, most of the papers, less time for them to, bring out the scary boogeyman against Bernie Sanders. So right now, it's as good as it's going to get for Bernie Sanders. He's surging in all the polls. I think there's going to be quite a few banana peels thrown his way it's less than 2 weeks now. But it's looking good. It's looking good. And by the way, I think we have some new viewers because our audience has been going up. Thank you very much. So if you're a new viewer, make sure to press the subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, makes a big, big difference. Press the subscribe button, press the bell next to the subscribe button, click on the bell, and then click all notifications. It doesn't mean YouTube's actually going to notify you all the time, but that's your best chance. Also, if you didn't get our little ask in the beginning, definitely sign up for our Instagram. We're focusing on growing there with short clips, bonus clips that you don't see on the YouTube channel. You could go to instagram.com/statuscoup, follow us there. That makes a big difference. And as always, we could only grow through you. statuscoup.com/join. And I'm going to have a video just for members coming up in the next day or two. So with that, I don't have anything else. Maybe I'll do a couple Q&A because I'm having a good time. And we're at 829 members. So if a couple more of you want to sign up, this is what you're getting. This is what you're getting. We've been reporting in Iowa. Marcus has been reporting in Iowa for us. I'll be in New Hampshire soon for that primary. And we're going to try and cover as much of the campaign as possible, but it's super expensive. We're not a fully funded media organization. We are a startup. So we're funded by you. So definitely keep it coming. Let me get a couple things here. Your viewer to subscriber ratio seems awfully high. Why is that? You think our viewers should be higher or lower? Because I'll tell you, because of the YouTube suppression we've been dealing with, because of the YouTube suppression that we have been dealing with, our subscriber number is a lot lower than it would have been normally if people knew that Status Coup actually existed. Our subscriber count is much lower than it should be because I would say, if you go back to my Young Turks audience, I would say at this point, 60% of my viewers don't even know, have no idea that Status Coup exists. We are seeing comments now as new viewers come in. Hey, Jordan, glad you're back. I mean, we've been doing this for almost 2 years. So our subscriber count would be a lot bigger. Wow, we just got another new member. Welcome, Timmery.
Welcome, Timmery.
We are now at 830 Status Coup members. Whoa! Big day. Statuscoup.com/join. Jordan, I live in Michigan. What can we do about Flint? Karen, what can we do about Flint? All I have to tell you, Karen, this is all I will say. We're doing a lot behind the scenes right now about Flint. So tune in for that. We're doing a lot. What you can do, keep tweeting, keep calling the city council, keep calling the mayor, the new mayor, keep calling the governor, who's a Democrat, who, as far as I'm concerned, has done nothing for Flint, the new Democratic governor. But Status Coup is working on some things related to Flint. We never let Flint down. So stay tuned for that. Anat is the kazoo. Yes, that was my girlfriend. Very supportive she is. You all built this ship of journalism? We didn't build anything. You're building this. You're building this with us. Surf the Wav. I didn't know you were part of TYT. Yep, I was there for 2 years. The exuberance is infectious. Check out Delaware's water. Okay. If you know something about Delaware's water, email me. info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to try this time, continue at this time. So 4:30 Eastern Time. That's 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1:30 Pacific. Definitely tune in if you can. And remember, we can only grow as far as you take us. Welcome to the 7 new members we got today. I hope we get more members as I sign off. And if you haven't done it yet, it's very easy. It will take very quick. Text 474747, enter COUP. So 474747, text that number and type in COUP. That will get you on our text list. We're going to start texting more before we go live because YouTube doesn't always notify you. And sign up for our Instagram, instagram.com/statuscoup. Thank you for watching. I got to go work on a story. I will see you tomorrow. Peace out.